So good afternoon, everybody. This panel discussion is being moderated by me. I've been introduced several times. I'll again speak my name. Can anybody tell my name? Momba. Okay. Do you know what Momba means? It is not M-O-M-B-A, but M-U-M-B-A. You know what Momba means? It's the world's most poisonous snake. Okay. But I am not the one. I'm comrade to a lot of people here, and in next 45 minutes, now you can start the timer, 45 minutes, we are going to witness some great ideas and great thoughts from the esteemed panelists. The title of my panel discussion is Impediments and Plausible Solutions to Enable EV and SDV. Now this is a very tricky title that I have chosen. The word impediment itself says, is there something negative about it? No, we are not going to talk anything negative about EV and SDV. We are going to figure out what the challenges are currently associated with both of these technologies, and what are the plausible solutions that companies that are being represented here are working on, and how do we see the outcome of this going forward. So we have seen in several presentations in the morning, these EV and SDV are both revolutionary technology, okay, and they are also evolutionary because they are evolving, and in time it will stabilize. So the big chunk of market for EV in India continues to be two-wheeler and three-wheeler right now, and of course four-wheelers, bigger vehicles will emerge with time, and we are seeing we have seen a good trajectory of growth in the past, but it seems to have somewhere stagnated. Okay, we are not selling as much as what we would like to sell. So what are the reasons you'd like to understand from the panelists about that? We are also seeing increasing automation, increasing features in the automobiles, particularly enabled by software, and we call it as software defined vehicles. So, the whole purpose of this is to provide safety, security, and sustainability to the society through the electric and SDV vehicle. Few important points before I bring in the panel and seek their responses is in EV we have two important things to consider. One is the range anxiety and the charging time. The third thing that I have not discussed and we would like to discuss at length is the cost of vehicle. Okay, the cost has not come down the way it has to come down. It is not competing well with the IC engines. Government subsidy is covering it up, but how long will the subsidy continue? The technology has to scale to a point where the monetization through the technology should be giving enough return on investment, make a profitable EV venture and still compete with the rest of the technology in the market. On the SDV, we have a lot of not impediments but challenges in terms of AI compute, communication, and one of the major challenges when I speak to people in this automotive fraternity is the cybersecurity. How are we going to safeguard the vehicles through any kind of intrusion that can happen through any kind of security issues since all the vehicles will be networked. So with this background, I'd like to introduce my esteemed panelist. Okay, we have Nirmal. Nirmal is missing. Nirmal is not there. No, he is not there. So I want to introduce Ramesh. Okay, Ramesh Satyanarayana is Deputy General Manager, Technology and Strategy, Planning, Panasonic Life System. He comes with, he looks very young, but he has written that he has 21 years of experience in the industry. So you are looking much younger than your age. Okay, and he mastered in product management and product engineering. He has designed several IoT devices, EV chargers, and several switch gears associated to this kind of automotive world. We also have Chandrika. Okay, Chandrika full name is Anu Mani Yamini Chandrika. Okay, so we'll call her Chandrika. She is Deputy General Manager, Continental India. Okay, and she comes with 24 years of experience in automotive, media, and people management. So diverse kind of experience. She is very specialized in software-defined vehicle, embedded software, cybersecurity, voice recognition, and some of the other complex areas associated with automotive. So thank you. Sanjeev P is a founder and CEO of E3 Technologies Private Limited, and he has 2 decades of leadership experience. He has a global experience. He has worked in Asia Pacific with several cross-functional teams, also in US and Europe. He's a CEO of E3 Technologies, we already said that, and he has also worked in TVS Motors, Greaves Electric Mobility Company in the past. So welcome. Marcus, I was really excited when I went through your details. He's a managing director at Comano Advisory LLP. He has 30 years of experience. Yeah, we can figure it out. After completing a stint at United Nations, he started his venture into automotive. He has worked in BMW, and he's acclaimed speaker with global expertise and of course multilinguistic. This is what I like about him. He can read and write English, French, Arabic, and German is his native language. Okay, so.
A little bit of German I speak as well.
Okay, good. So very few multilingual person like you are available, and of course my old buddy and friend Kapil Sirohi. I know his uncle as well. I was working as colleague with his uncle Krishna Sirohi, who is now professor at IIT Delhi, but now I have the nephew to deal with, Kapil Sirohi. He is director at ETAS India. Kapil started his career as software engineer in AVL and has worked at Keysight as my colleague at ETAS, and he has seen the transformation in this technology. His expertise is in the area of SDV and artificial intelligence, and he currently works at ETAS, which is a Bosch company, right? So with this background, with such an eminent panelist, yeah, so you are, okay, so welcome on time. Thank you for making it on time. So you are Nirmal NR, a former CEO, three-wheeler business, Greaves Electric Company. Nirmal is a startup expert. He has 2 decades of experience working in large multinational companies as well as startups in diverse roles. He has worked at Ashok Leyland and DuPont in the past. So welcome Nirmal, okay? Now in next 39 minutes that we are left with, we are going to ask these 6 panelists several questions, and because considering the paucity of time, we will have to limit the responses in 2 minutes probably. If all of you can do that, we'll be able to accommodate as many questions as possible. So Marcus, I want to start with you, okay? Since you have a global exposure, where are we on EV? I mean, we seem to be seeing not enough of EVs being sold in the world, seem to have stagnated. The growth trajectory is not benign. So what are your thoughts on where are we on EV?
On EV, yeah, you're right, we have a little bit of a sluggish development. The question is, how do we read that? I think globally we have various templates or rules or approaches. No? We have, of course, the Chinese approach, which is the most successful one. One is because the government is pushing and also make it mandatory for fleet owners. At the same time, they also invested many years ago in building up the infrastructure. And I think that's a crucial thing where which we haven't touched upon. We're also not the right people maybe to discuss it, but it's a key issue. And it's not about charging infrastructure, it's about grid infrastructure and how we produce our power. Then we have the American approach, which is entrepreneurial driven. So make a business case, and Tesla is the best example for that. And then we have the European approach, which is a more idealistic social approach that we want to save the planet. Especially in Germany, we always want to save the planet. And that is also a little bit thrown down because, again, the prices is not coming down. And here it's also a little bit of contradictory. EU has imposed taxes on Chinese EVs. Now, if really EVs is what we have to push into the market to save the planet, to quote that again, then it should be immaterial where the EV is coming from, from China or from Europe, but at the same time we have to protect our industry. So there's a little, it shows you the dilemma. And then we have the Indian market, which is in a way totally unique because we have a very mixed bag with two-wheelers, the importance of two-wheelers and three-wheelers, and passenger cars. And in two-wheelers, while they are the biggest number of EVs right now, the percentage is still low. So it's way below 10% of the EV sales, of the sales of two-wheelers are EV. So that's why I think there we will see the highest growth in the next couple of years, and this will definitely go beyond 50% by 2030. Very successful in three-wheelers, where we have already more than 50% sales of EVs, and there we can easily hit 80%. And I think if you pause here 1 minute or 1 second, I think these are also very good business models for the Indian market, for India to export. Okay. Because especially if you look at other emerging markets like Africa, I would really have a big eye and a focus on that, and it has more impact. For passenger vehicles, we will sell less than 5% of them will be electric this year, and I doubt that we will hit 20% by 2030.
By 2030, 20%?
20% of the annual sales of passenger vehicles will be less than around 20% max. So that's my estimate. Of course, there are always external factors which can play a role, which we can't predict. We heard about COVID, we heard about government things and other issues, but that, and also what we saw, I mean, you have one fire somewhere and people say, oh, it is not safe, and then the attractiveness drops. So there are a lot of aspects which we cannot really control. But that's, if everything goes normal, that's what I would see going. And there's no harm with it because, as I said, grid is a big issue. I mean, all the beautiful presentation you made is frankly speaking worthless if there is no from the government, from the utilities, the grid who supports it, and if it comes with halfway green energy. Right now in India, we still 70% of our energy is fossil fuel based, and this year in Asia, 90% of the additional energy consumption is coal-fired. So.
Oh, okay, I can understand. So Marcus, you touched upon a very good point on India market, considering two-wheeler and three-wheeler. So I would want to flip this question to Ramesh, since you have, Nirmal. So you have a very good, insight about India market. How do you see this coming up? We have 27 crores two-wheeler and 9 crore of cars. So which is going to be a bigger market, and how do we see the return on investment coming up in these areas? How do you see the profitability and the return on investment between two-wheelers, three-wheelers and four-wheeler market in India going forward?
Yeah, so were you talking about return on investment for the investors, or are you talking about return on investment for the customers? I would rather think for the customers.
For investors.
I would rather think for the customers, right?
Okay.
So I'll tell you why. Because fundamentally, unless people make money out of that product, it's never going to sell, right? Investors will make money only when the customers start buying. So, and I think the market has kind of answered most of that already, at least for the beginning. You will see that the reason why India has so many two-wheelers and three-wheelers and they are successful is really because that is what is required for the market, right? And the number of kilometers run on a two-wheeler or a three-wheeler or a commercial vehicle largely is what matters on an electric, right? That is where economics is better. And that is exactly the reason why it will work. And the reason why three-wheelers adoption has been way higher is also because, there are two models in this, right? One is the L3 model and the L5 model. L3 model has been that model where, you have very low investments and a reasonable margin, but there is no brand in it, right? You'll see that there are hundreds of manufacturers struggle to actually differentiate, right? And L5 model is a slightly higher capex intensive kind of a model. You'll see that some players have kind of done both L3 and L5 and have tried to build the brand out of it, making money out of it, etc. But eventually what's going to happen is that sometimes it's going to consolidate, right? It cannot happen that 100 people are selling, and the moment regulations come into the market, like when the moment the government actually starts deciding that, okay, we need to look at safety a little more, we need to actually have better service, a lot of these, right? When that happens, a lot of consolidation will happen. And that is when it will become profitable, right? And it's not that others are not making profit. I mean, even today, I'm sure a lot of people are making profit. In two-wheelers, you'll see that the unit economics are not that great yet. But two-wheelers require a lot more volume because of the kind of products that you're, and two-wheelers require a lot more marketing. Three-wheelers don't require marketing. That is the reason why it is profitable, right?
Okay.
So commercial vehicles are profitable majorly because the marketing costs are low. Two-wheelers, you're building brand, you're spending a lot of money building brand. That is what is making it difficult.
Okay, good. So, I was going through, as you say, L3 kind of a list. There are 93 or 94 companies in the list, and market share of 11th company is less than 2%. So, as you said, right, there are a lot of listed companies. But India has been very successful in delivering even four-wheelers. So, Chandrika, I would want to understand from you, look at Tata, look at Mahindra. They have been delivering excellent electric vehicle cars. And, behind the scene, for manufacturing this car, you need a great ecosystem. So what is your view? I mean, do we have enough to accelerate the growth in the country, that ecosystem, or what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, the ecosystem in India, I can say it's evolving. It's not, may not be to the point where we require for the for the growth that we are expecting. But I can say that there are many aspects for this ecosystem. So it is not just only the manufacturers, but it is also the components, and it is the battery, and also it is the charging stations. And then we also have some government policies that enhances, right? And of course, consumers also, and investors as well. So if you see the, as we know, with respect to manufacturers, they are like every day you see many people coming up newly into the market. And, but components and batteries are one of the major challenge for them to bring it to more cost effective, right? To evolve this, to improve the ecosystem. So here if you see that one of the challenge why this is more expensive is because most of the time now we are relying on components from other countries, so like China. And that is where now government is bringing up new policies like FAME 2 and also like ACC, where they are investing, they are giving subsidiaries and also encouraging the manufacturers to bring these components into India, like localization. So that is what we are trying. They are encouraging to see that we can reduce the cost of these vehicles. So because battery management is one of the most important thing and also expensive thing as well, right? And that is where we require a lot of support if we have to increase the purchasing of vehicles, and also to reduce the manufacturing cost. So these subsidiary programs are really helping. And yes, because the government is looking that we have to reach by 2030 our target of the statistics, whatever we saw, the vehicle increase at least to 70% in India. So they are working on it. But nevertheless, there are challenges as well still. And one more thing is also charging stations. That's one of the most important thing. And in 2018, if you see, there were around like 300 charging stations. But whereas we see that the target is by next year, we need to get around 3,000 charging stations. And also, I think one of our presenter gave that the way how the charging stations or the charging equipment, we need to make it commonized, standardized the protocols, so that people can go and charge it. Any vehicle can charge at any public point. So these are some things like what government is really looking at. And definitely, yes, we are going to meet the target.
Excellent. Thank you. What I infer from this is we do have the end manufacturing available, but some of the components that are critical to manufacturing, this still comes from outside, which we need to build in India, right? And the critical infrastructure that is needed for the success is also charging. So I would want to switch to this side of the panel and now ask, Ramesh, Ramesh, one of the things that is a deterrent to me in buying electric vehicle is the availability of public charging infrastructure and the time it takes to charge. So, what is your view? I mean, what should we be looking at going forward in terms of the charging infrastructure in India? And what level of charge is megawatt charging the answer?
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, I would like to break this question into two parts. One is the challenges with the charging infrastructure and where we are. Of course, I think my fellow panelists, they covered on the commercial segment. Commercial segment with the fleet management, almost we are in the right track, I believe, because the charging infrastructure is in place, because that much utilization is there and they are managing well for the operational efficiency. However, if we see the EV market adoption, India in a unique way compared to world, the two-wheelers and three-wheelers adopted much faster. Of course, three-wheelers on the commercial side, but two-wheelers on the passenger and personal vehicle side. So if we talk on the personal vehicle side, the study has been gradually it is that rather than the range anxiety, both for the cars on the personal side as well as in the two-wheelers, the range anxiety, it was debusted that it was like a myth, because for the current usage, daily usage, most of the times the charging happens at the homes or at the community places. So 80 to 90% charging happens at the mainly the homes. So for that one, now coming to the challenges, what you said, the charges availability, charging infrastructure availability, I agree that one mainly for the public charging, because for those charges the utilization was so less, it was around 5 to 10% right now also. Even in the apartment complexes and all, it is only the 5 to 10%. So if at all the utilization is so less, then the business viability is not there to maintain that. So there were the challenges happening. And okay, now coming to, unlike the petrol stations or fuel stations, for charging to happen, there is no compelling reason to go to a public charging and do that one. They typically happen at the home side. And that's the reason I see a lot of adoption is going to happen at the home side and the apartment side for the captive charging. And for that one, the way even the premium residences, they are growing. They are trying to now give it as an amenity, like the way clubhouses or the way it is going to come like a lift or something like that. It's going to come with as an amenity, because of which this whatever the charging infrastructure challenge, I don't think that will be much of an issue if it is adapted at the home side. And coming to the fast charging side, that part, in a typical home charging segment, with the limited load availability and provided as a amenity, then if at all going for fast charging or ultra fast charging, it will be a huge capex heavy, and that will never recover the money. So for any of the either the developers or even the charger providers who is going to provide is in the OPEX model. So, and since the charging typically for a personal vehicle happens over the night, and that too only 2 to 3 times a week, so the utilization can be managed, and slow charges will be an answer for that.
So, this is a very perplexing situation. You said, for EVs to exist, we need more chargers, right? But, for chargers to exist, we need more EVs, right? And people are comfortable with the format and all that. So, when will this conundrum be solved?
Yeah, I think India has always a unique problems, and the ecosystem itself finds unique solutions. That's how the journey has been, if we see. Because from 4 to 5 years back, the famed subsidies and all, they started coming in the charging infrastructure side. But when the government and the whole industry started realizing the utilization is so less and the charger reliability and availability itself is an issue, they focused on the vehicle segment. And the ecosystem itself finds their own solutions for that.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So we have covered charging, we have covered vehicle ecosystem, etc. And I want to go to the cost. Okay. So what I want to know, Sanjeev, from you is, primarily the cost of electric vehicle is very high. Okay, and it has been heavily subsidized, still not cost competitive to the traditional IC engines. So what do you think we should be doing? Because someday government subsidies will go away, and if we don't catch by then, okay, because the volumes are not growing that fast, if we don't catch by then we will be staring at a very precarious situation. So what do you think we should be doing to be cost competitive with the rest of the technologies?
Yeah, I think the most important question at this juncture, and that will solve all these problems that we're talking about. And when you ask this question, it also takes me down the memory drain, you know, September 9, 2019 till 24, 5 years. I've seen this whole journey of EV, especially in two-wheeler, then to three-wheeler. But I must tell you that the things have changed. So when EV started, I won't say it started in 2019, it started much earlier, but discovery phase with all Chinese products coming in and all that. But with the FAME subsidy and a more structured way of doing things, with the phase 1 of PMP, localization, all that, what happened in 2019. When that started, we didn't have any localized partners, vendors, motors, controllers, BMS, nothing was in India. Lots of challenges, lots of import, lots of costs, etc. And as you know, in every new technology, there is this learning and discovery phase, then there's an improvement phase, then there's a maturity phase. We have crossed the learning phase. Yeah. We are now in the improvement phase. In this improvement phase, many things have already changed. Number one, as my friend was mentioning earlier, to make anyone to buy EV, government had to give from 10,000 to 40,000 rupees. And when 40,000 rupees of subsidies came in, the OEM started putting everything that the customer never expected for. So, of course, everybody wants interesting tech, premium tech, but they want to pay for actually, when they pay for useful tech only. Nobody wants a 7-inch big TFT cluster and a coconut falls on it. Who's going to replace it for 15,000? They don't want that. But if it's free, yeah, please give it to me. So that phase went when everything was put in and the BOM costs were very high. And the subsidies, some of them got it, many of our friends didn't get it. Therefore, a lot of brands vanished. And therefore, it was obviously high BOM costs. But what I mean by this so-called improvement phase, at least in two-wheelers and of course three-wheelers, it's now clear what formula customers want. Okay. Some of our top, fortunately, the two brands that I work for, they're in the top 5, number 2 and number 5. I've seen 500,000 vehicles. I've seen the whole ecosystem really close. Those who went and put in a lot of money developing maps and very high-end technology in the two-wheeler, now 60-70% of all those brands are selling LCD clusters and simple vehicles, and their BOM costs have come down. So that's A. B, the subsidy is already at 10,000. With or without, it does not make any change anymore. C, the penetration of EV when I started was 0.1%. Now in scooters it's 15%. In some big states it's 22%. In Bangalore it's 29%. One of every 3 scooter buyers in Bangalore is already buying EV. So to my friend's point, fortunately now the awareness is already there. Good, bad, let's forget about it. Aag lag raha hai, fire, whatever. But awareness is there. Okay. People know about EVs. That cost is coming down. The battery costs are coming to less than $100 per kilowatt hour, which is amazing. That pain is coming down. Technologies have changed.
$100
LFP,
per kilowatt hour.
Per kilowatt hour. I'm talking about two-wheeler. Of course, four-wheeler economics are very different. The whole conversation I'm putting to the two, poster boys of EV in India. I'm talking about India perspective for now.
Okay, understood.
Two-wheeler and three-wheeler, because they are the biggest game changers in the country, and the four-wheelers are, of course, some way to go, right? So in this space, the battery costs are coming down. It used to be 55% of an EV, overall BOM. Now it's 35%. So that pain's come down. So if the subsidy is going down, that dependency is going down. The chemistry is changing. We were only dependent on NMC before. Now we have LFMP. LFP was having other challenges for packaging in two-wheelers, right? So overall, with that tech advancement, with the cost coming down, and with the maturity, awareness problems being solved, I think, and with the localization, cost should come down.
Okay. So you are very optimistic the cost will come down to a point where a poor like me will be able to buy an EV, right?
Otherwise, I would have not stepped out of TVS and started E3 Technologies 3 months ago.
Okay, good. I admire your optimism. Okay, thank you. So Kapil, I'll come to you. You are so precious that I'll have to ask you at length. Okay, so I'll come to you, and I would want to finish a few questions with Nirmal and Sanjeev first. That's on the, Nirmal, I want to ask you about the grid discipline, okay, and again related to something on the charging part. How well are we? I mean, it's quite chaotic when I talk to people. Different people have different versions about how vehicle to grid is going to work and things like that. How is this grid discipline in India so far? How is it in terms of charging? I'm talking about the charging infrastructure.
Got it. Yeah, I think Ramesh already mentioned this. So most of the charging happens at home, right? And if it happens at home, it happens from your regular charger, right? Or plug point, which is there at home. A customer, none of us, I mean, all of us are customers of different things. I don't think we think of environment, we think of other benefits
Not
while
like
we are
Germans,
users.
huh?
No, I think there's a huge difference, right?
Okay.
If you just look at the Maslow's law of hierarchy, we are looking at very different sides. Europe may be thinking like that. Europe is thinking of, let's say, self-actualization, that kind of reasons for that, right? But at this point in time, I don't think Indians are thinking that. I don't think China thought like that. Now, the solution to that, so can you solve it by using renewable energy sources for the power, right? That is what the government and the system has to do. The customer is not going to do.
But getting little more into this, when you say people would want to charge at night, and to charge at night, there are two alternatives that you have. Either you pump all the power from the fossil fuel generation or from the recyclable energy, mostly solar, right, which we do not have at night. And to deliver through solar, you need several gigafactories, which again adds to so much of cost. So what is a plausible solution to this? If we continue to rely on people charging at night at homes and all that, not building so much of the electric charging infrastructure with charging in just 8, 5, 10 minutes and all that, will people be ever encouraged to use the grid during daytime or during the time where the renewable energy will be able to feed through?
No, so think
I
of
mean, it's such a complicated situation.
agree, but think of the use case of the customer, right? The customer's use case is that he is using it for transport during the day, right? Now, if you have, so a commercial use case is very clear. He's using through the day, right? He doesn't have time to charge for a long time. So the two solutions which can come from a industry perspective is to, one, have a faster charging vehicle, which means that I can charge it in maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes, that's okay. Or I have extra batteries for swapping. Swapping, in my opinion, is not very capital efficient as a business. That's something that I don't know whether it will ever fly eventually, right? At scale, it's very difficult. So these are the two options that you have. And the other is for a regular use case. For example, a customer who's, let's say, using it for commuting to office. And if I have office charging, which I can, charging at office, which I can pay for, that's amazing. But the difference is that in India, do you have a parking infra which is so evolved where do I get a, let's say, for example, in Bangalore or in Bombay, do you actually get your own parking spots everywhere? No, you don't, right? So these are the challenges. So then you have to say, okay, do I have a parking infra player who can actually do this for us, and then they charge? But even there, you need a faster charging. I think the solution from the industry side is largely improving the technology in terms of charging and chemistry, and possibly doing swapping. So for smaller vehicles, it's easier. And yeah, really faster charging for commercial vehicles, that's what we can think of, in my opinion.
So next year when we meet, we are going to touch base again on charging because it is not something that is solved. Okay. Good. So we would want to switch to SDV. Okay, Kapil, just hold on. Huh? But before that, just a thought of just 30 to 40 seconds from you, Sanjeev, in terms of the emergence of hydrogen cell technology. Okay, since you have been coaching a lot of people and mentoring a lot of companies, what about the threat that we have from hydrogen cell? I mean, Toyota is so upbeat about it, and they say that it's more environmentally friendly and cost effective. And these people will not lose the job. Those who are servicing this kind of vehicles, on the roadside, they will not lose the job with hydrogen technology. So what is your thought? Just 30, 50 seconds.
Okay, so both hydrogen and electric are in the purpose of going green, right?
Yeah.
Remove the emissions. Both are interesting technologies, but let's put the customer at the center of it first. When I say the customer, let's say 80% of the customers are regular users, personal commuters, car or bikes or etc., and 20% commercial, right? The 80% customers who want TCO to shift to a greener technology, not because it's green, because it's TCO first. For those customers, the sad news is electric is at least 1/5 or 1/7 the cost of running than a hydrogen, number one. But when it comes to heavy commercial vehicles, heavy commercial, heavy weight, adding more and more battery is very expensive. Therefore, the hydrogen turns out to become cheaper to buy.
Okay.
And of course, big capacity, so you don't have to run for stations to fill in hydrogen, pump hydrogen. So for large commercial vehicles, it makes really good sense.
Okay. You have given us a good insight. If we can have some bands of operations, right? So
Yeah.
the EV band
Yeah.
and then a hydrogen band.
Exactly. The other thing is in terms of efficiency for light electric vehicles doesn't make sense, because if you go straight from, let's say, I'm using ICE terminals a little bit, well to tank to wheel. The efficiency of EV is what? 70 to 90%. Hydrogen is 25 to 30%. So definitely loss of efficiency. And if you take all of that in a light electric vehicle, I just want to quote what Elon Musk said. It's his words, not mine. He said hydrogen is BS. Especially when it comes to cars and bikes. It doesn't make sense. Completely inefficient.
Yeah, got the point. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now, we have enough of discussion on EV. Let's talk about SDV. And we have SDV champions here, some of them. So let me start with Kapil. Kapil, you are so passionate about SDV, right? So what are the key success factors for SDV?
Yeah. So from my point of view, or rather I would say from the customer point of view, if you look at the SDV story, it is essentially feature on demand. If you want to realize SDV, you need to look at many factors, of course, but I will pick three which I feel are the most critical of all of them. First is you have to have a perfect software factory, which should enable the pace at which the feature is required. Second, I would say would be the partner ecosystem, the processes, the practices which have to be dealt with in complete harmonization of the complete ecosystem. That's second. And probably third is the right or a perfect software architecture, which is the fundamental for any SDV, for any software-defined vehicle. So these three elements, I would say, would be the most critical, crucial of all. Having said that, we also need to look at the cybersecurity and the safety elements of it, because these things are not spoken much, but though safety is, but not cybersecurity. But I think that's an essential element which runs throughout the life cycle of the vehicle. So we can't look at only at the inception or at the design phase. We also need to look at from the when the vehicle is running on the road, even after life, because now you're putting a lot of data on a vehicle. What happens to the vehicle when it is exchanging hands? So all those things have to be taken care while we are talking about software-defined vehicle. So that's my point of view as an initial. Yeah, that's what I would like to.
So good, Kapil, you have given me a good food of thought. I would want to go to Chandrika for this. Okay, Chandrika, when he is talking about one of the success factors for SDV being the split architecture of cloud versus on-prem compute, how do you see the efficiency of this and the use pattern? I mean, who is going to provide what? I mean, it's so complicated. Who is going to retain the data? Who is going to give the services? Who is going to charge? It appears to be so complicated. So do you have some view in terms of how eventually this is going to look like? What are those few critical elements that we'll have to solve for these AI-driven or cloud-driven enablement of SDV?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. So here, one thing I just want to bring to everybody's notice is, recently everyone must be aware of, right, the very beautiful screen we all saw suddenly onto our laptops and screens, a blue screen. Hope everybody still remembers it. That's the CrowdStrike.
CrowdStrike.
Yeah. So if we are going in the vehicle and suddenly we see some software update happening, and then we see suddenly car everywhere, we see the blue screens or our displays going off and saying that, come on, now the vehicle is stopped. We can't expect that scenario, right? So we need to be very careful when we are going with the SDV. So as our colleague said, it is really important to see what has to go where. So which has to be hosted onto the cloud, which has to be hosted onto the vehicle. So that's where we need to make a very conscious decision. And this is especially, this area is where actually even from Continental I can say that we are coming up with proposing an architecture where we wanted actually to make it into 3 parts, where one part is something like with the vehicle signals where it interacts, and the second part is safety critical, and the third one is the one which can have the connectivity with the cloud. So the features where we require very fast connectivity and very fast latency, the latency is very less. Those are the ones, and also safety critical areas that we want to keep it inside the vehicle. So that is where we require these high performance computers, edge platforms, and also we want even the GPUs there. We are not going with CPUs, but with GPUs, so that for AI algorithms, it can give it a faster latency and responses. But there are certain features where we can not safety critical ones, where we can get it response from the cloud and the connectivity. So that's what we are going to put it into the cloud. Okay. So that's how we are going to mitigate this issue.
So we will evolve with time.
Yes.
We still have to do a lot of,
lot of
behind
things.
this, right?
Yes.
So Marcus, I just want you to help me, understand. We have seen SDV, we have seen the associated, challenges, and particularly AI type. I also want to bring forward the communication challenges between SDV and the network, etc. What is the end game? When are we going to get that level 5 vehicle? And what are those intricacies that we will have to address to reach that to that level? And what are the timelines? So many questions.
So many questions.
You'll have to still answer in 2 minutes.
So many questions. I left my crystal ball at home. So easier to answer the when is the where. I would think that the first autonomous ecosystem we will see again in China. Because they will just declare one tier 2 city as the autonomous city, where only autonomous vehicles are allowed to drive, and then we will see how it really works. They can do that.
And any timelines in terms of years? Maybe
timeline a year,
yeah,
I mean, it might not be 2035, might be even sooner.
Sooner.
So what they did, for instance, which we didn't really realize, when they did the first lockdown in Wuhan, they distributed food with fully automated vehicles. Now, that is an ideal thing to gather data, not for real-time traffic, but at least real-time road conditions. How is the light? How is the light reflecting on leaves and everything? That's all important data what you need to build your models going further. And as I said, they have the power to just implement it and say this city has only autonomous vehicles. And then the interesting thing is how it really evolves. No, I mean, what we then expect, and hopefully it will happen, is a drastic reduction in accidents, a better lifestyle there because we have more public space, because we don't need parking anymore, because autonomous vehicles are supposed to run permanently. They don't need a parking. So, and if that's happening, then it's a societal question globally. Do we want to stick with our normal cities, or do we also have that kind of lifestyle, what we see here? So that's on a big vision, and as a consultant I have the luxury to stay a little bit 30,000 feet above. That's what I think is going to happen for L5. And again, I'm a big fan of that, and I'm a big, I would bet heavily on that for the simple reason, because what we do now is we just replace the ICE cars with electric cars, but that doesn't help our traffic congestion, no? It's the same car, the same size of a car, and there's this beautiful picture of Thanksgiving in LA where the highways are blocked, and one, they put it twice next to each other. One says, this is how it looks with ICE engine, and this is how it looks with EVs. It looks the same. Unless we reduce cars on the road, we will not have a better lifestyle. And historically seen, the more roads you build, the more cars you will sell, the more cars you will have on the road. So road infrastructure alone is not solving the problem.
Okay. So good, Marcus. I like your idea. I mean, to have the autonomous vehicle, you need to do a pilot project, okay, and create a kind of an environment, and probably, I've seen a lot of people talking about a digital twin, okay, a creation of digital cities like this, create a synthetic data, and then, train the machines for SDV. So we would want to end this very soon, but before we end, I just want to ask Kapil, just 30 seconds to you in terms of the criticality that you see for cybersecurity in SDV. Because I feel that, while we are playing with machines when we talk about computers, it's still okay to see the blue screen, as what Chandrika said, but not in cars, not in vehicle that I'm driving if I'm suddenly, petrified with whatever I'm seeing. Yeah.
So, as Chandrika just mentioned, I think it is important that we analyze it very carefully, that how I want to place my features, the safety critical ones, the non-safety criticals, the QM, or how I'm defining the ASIL functions. Now, basis that, I will take a architecture call, how exactly it has to happen. So the blue screen will not come for the safety ones. Maybe it comes for a QM function, which is still fine. I can still manage that. But all these things will be more prominent if we not address the cybersecurity part of it. So I'll just come to that maybe quickly, that cybersecurity guidelines are being rolled out also in India. We at ETAS, along with Bosch and all, some industry players, are working closely with ARI to roll out regulations on cybersecurity. So like we do homologation for the vehicles, we have to undergo homologation for cybersecurity as well. And yeah, this will be essential certificate before you roll out to the certificate. So those things will be taken care partially. But as I mentioned, this is a life cycle. It will continue. You have to keep your vehicle up to date. So OTA, secure OTA is important. SecDevOps will become a regular practice. And also, we are looking at the industry evolution coming, and setting up a lot of labs are setting up for the penetration testing and all those cyber security infrastructure maintenance setups are coming up in across industry. So these regulations will come later, but I think industry is already getting prepared, and we bring around almost 20 years of experience on cyber security, and hence we are also working very closely with the industry in terms of their competency build-up and also enabling them for these certifications. Yeah.
Good, Kapil. We are nearly on the lunch time, or we have just even exceeded that. Before I end, and thanks everyone, I just want to ask everybody one single question, and they have to reply strictly in 20 seconds, which is, from your point of view, which is the paramount challenge in EV or SDV, and what is the mitigation plan for that? Just starting with you, Ramesh.
Yeah. So right now, for the quick adoption of the EV, that journey we are in, of course, we see like 50 million vehicles will come by 2030. So it will, from the charging infrastructure, I can tell, for the home charging and all, it's going to be 80-90%. So major thing, it should be a business viability for any of the companies to come into picture and set up the hardware infra. For that one, that can be recovered only through the capex model, and that is one of the challenges. And if it has to be recovered and there should be ROI, means then it has to be through the value-added services which are going to come in future. That is from vehicle to grid, then true renewable energy arbitrage, the energy trading that should happen, then only it's going to be a true net zero kind of whatever goal we are talking about. So
what I gather from you is it's a business model, sustainable business model, which is a big challenge. What about you, Sanjeev?
I think it's, I mean, for all the problems, the solution is scale. And for scale, obviously, the cost of the EV has to come down. And that's it.
I like your answer. Scale is what, is the answer to most of the businesses. Yeah. Kapil?
Yeah. So I'll pick the SDV as the innovation. So I think whatever innovation is happening right now, it is still in silos. Tier 1s, OEMs, and rest of the players are working in silos. If you really want to realize a SDV, we all need to work together, and there has to be an innovation center, which is a common platform where people are actually, putting their innovations, so that everybody can utilize that, and ultimately the user can benefit in the industry.
Excellent. Yeah. So it's a good network that has to evolve. Marcus?
It's not really a technical challenge for the EVs, but the question what I raised before is really where does the power come from and how much power do we have? Because the first thing what you see here when you enter this premises is a diesel generator. So unless we have an answer to that, and renewable energies will not be enough. They will never be enough on grid scale. They will never be enough on grid scale to give us a green energy.
I agree. I like that answer. Okay. Thank you. Chandrika?
Yeah, in case of SDVs, I see the major challenges. Right now, the architecture is different for the vehicles. So how fast the OEMs can change it. Yeah, the architecture can be migrated to zonal control architecture, right? It's a huge challenge.
So evolution of a new hybrid or some innovative architecture to fulfill the requirement of SDV KF.
Yeah, we do have it, but it's going to be a major drift.
Overhaul.
Yes.
Overhauling the architecture.
Architecture.
My small phrase is horses for courses, right? So you
Can
don't
you be a little louder?
horses for courses. So essentially, you cannot have one size that fits all.
Okay.
You need to actually look at the right kind of applications. Why do you need an SDV right now in India? I don't think you require for transport. You don't need a taxi which is SDV. I would rather have an SDV which is in let's say in a construction equipment or a toxic environment where mining is happening. I would rather have that, right? I would rather focus on those first. And similarly, in electric, again, same thing. If economics works out for the customer, they will adopt. That is what we need to focus on. I mean, obviously, scale is the answer to that. But I'm just saying that, we need to really understand which application do we go into, rather than just saying that, okay, I want all of that electric. I mean, I don't think we can afford it. We don't have electricity for that either, right?
Yeah, so you said bespoke, vehicles for a different application.
Exactly.
Thank you. Great.
I just wanted to respond to Nirmal, right? So you're right. Maybe we don't need an SDV. It's as good as we don't need a car as well. The reason is because
no, don't start this. Don't start this. Okay.
no. The thing is, it's about the innovation.
It's a perspective, Kapil.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's a perspective.
So maybe two-wheelers are not that relevant for those features which are relevant for cars. So just giving an example, taxi might be if you're traveling on a hill station. You might need an additional torque on your wheels, right? You can do it with SDV. You don't need to buy or change a vehicle for a hill travel or in mountains. So, I mean, that's just the different perspective. Thanks.
Good. I respect everybody's perspective. It has been my joy, pleasure, and privilege to host this eminent panelist. Thank you, everybody, for participating.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.